You've talked a lot about engineering and all the work that you're doing. Do you partner with learning teams right now?
I am the world's best partner for
Wonderful, we can all go.
Seriously though, I have learning goals for my teams. Like we have to sit there and go through, training events. We do a bunch of group exercises. The training organization that we have at Salesforce is fantastic, and I have pretty high level goals to roll out training across the entire company for the technology stacks that I support. So I have this massive motivation, and I'm judged on it by my management chain on whether I can deliver on these training goals. So I come to the training organization with a big motivation, and I sit there and say, I really want to do this, and we're there. So the sales job that you're talking about doesn't need to happen. And I think what I'd like to do is kind of tell you where it works and where it doesn't, and how training organizations partner well with me and how training organizations don't partner well with me. And story time. So we once did this training, and it was about 6 months ago, and the training organization came to me and said, okay, you're going to need 2 engineers, and those 2 engineers are going to have to help us put this course content together. And it's probably going to be about 4 weeks worth of engineering time. And then we'd like them to be the pilot to deliver the training while we're training the trainer and making sure that the people actually understand how to deliver the course content. So fantastic. That sounds like not a problem. We'll put that in the backlog, we'll figure everything out, and we'll do it. And then about 2 months into this program, I got this email saying, hey, do you mind if we fly one of your engineers on a red eye to Halifax, Nova Scotia, deliver the training, and then fly him back the same day because we've run out of budget for the hotel room? And my answer to that was, well, no, if there's a problem with the budget, just come back and ask. If you sit there and you think that you're running out of funding, or you're not delivering on a timeline, or you're not able to produce the level of content that you want, come back and re-engage with me early and re-engage with me often. And I think sometimes people get stuck in this is the budget, this is the numbers, this is exactly how much I have. And they kind of lose the sight of the fact that my goal is delivering a high quality content, a high quality training experience that gets adopted across the organization, and people who are delivering it feel comfortable, they're not flying backwards and forwards across the country. And I'm in engineering. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with software engineering teams, but we miss deadlines and budgets all the time. We're more than familiar with people coming to us and sitting there and saying, hey, can we resource this? So my advice there is be flexible. I think your business partner teams, if you have a budget or you have a timeline, will be flexible in the delivery of it, and come back and negotiate and explain the reasons why that happened. So anyway, the next story I have is the complete opposite end of the spectrum, which is I worked with another training organization that came to me and said, okay, we're doing this really great thing. It's a really fantastic course, and we need 20 engineers for 3 months. So I'm like, okay, I think we've pivoted back from this, we've sort of pendulum from here to here. And we started having this conversation about it, and it seemed like actually it ended up being a pretty reasonable ask. For the level of content, for the global distribution of the training, it seemed to be pretty accurate in terms of its ask. And I said, okay, I'm gonna have to now find 20 engineers. I'm gonna have to convince them to do this training thing. And I sat down and I in this meeting and I said, is this a fun thing? Is this 3 months of enjoyable work that these engineers are gonna actually like doing? And the whole room sort of sat there and paused for a second. I don't think anyone had ever actually asked that question. Are the people, the resources that you're depending on, enjoying this project? Do they have some sort of visibility? Do they have some sort of way of getting recognition across the organization? Is their name on the training at all? So they can feel like they've produced something? Is there a video of them so that their face is in front of the rest of the organization as an expert? And we started to have that conversation, and I think that really helped with the recruiting. It really helped get the best people for that training. And my advice would be to just engage the organization, make sure that people feel part of that training, make sure they feel like it's their own and they've contributed to it. And try and make participating in delivering these trainings and producing these trainings something that people really find is fun and they're self-motivated to do.
Awesome. Any similar stories or other experiences?
I guess I would say, just kind of add to that, it's those kind of brown bag sessions that Justine and I were talking about. That's kind of a really kind of short snippet way to say, hey, maybe somebody just work on an interesting hackathon project using new technology, or, somebody did, kind of just release a new feature very quickly and have it, I don't know. I think there's different opportunity. I think people get really excited about talking about their work with their peers. And I think that gives the recognition, and that, you're learning from each other. I think another thing so when I led the payments team at Expedia, so we processed, or our team was responsible for all payments for all brands globally at Expedia. And so I had an engineering team that I worked with, and I was in the coffee room talking to a couple of the more junior engineers. And I said, they're like, hey, what are you up to? I'm like, oh, I just came back from a meeting with our CFO and told them about the great work that you guys are doing. And they were shocked that the CFO cared about what they were working on. And I'm like, the company literally doesn't bring money in if you guys aren't. Like, literally, But I was amazed. Like, it was eye-opening for me that they didn't really realize kind of their impact in the entire organization. And so what I started doing, so I realized that they probably don't know how Expedia makes money. Yeah. Right? So he's kind of giving them this context. So because of the different roles I had kind of a unique view of like the different product lines and how Expedia made money. So I just put together this presentation, and I basically just booked a conference room, I think once a week or once every 2 weeks. And it's just, I brought cookies, and I said, bring your lunch. And I just did a session on how does Expedia make money. Literally, and then other people in the organization started, wanting to join, because there's so many people in the organization that don't know how a company makes money, which is shocking, but it's true. And I think it's nice for your engineers to have context for what they're building. Right? So I think that's one. And the second training that I built and started offering. So payments is, so everybody just assumes when you swipe that card, all automatically happen. Right? It's a fairly complicated process. There's lots of things that can break down. And so our engineering team that's working on this needed to understand, kind of like how the transaction flows throughout the whole process, and where things can break down, and who the different players are and their roles. And so I did another just brown bag, completely optional. I just kind of sat in the conference room, maybe 3 people showed up, maybe 10 people showed up, and did another one, like once a week of how does the payments process work. And so we had people from, our engineering leadership would come, and then, some of our more junior people. And just about everybody in our engineering team attended at least once. Some people came twice because they wanted cookies. But I think just about everybody on the engineering team came. And to me, that was just proof that, people want to have this business context for what they're building. And sometimes we're moving so fast that they just get their little bit that they're going to work on in that sprint. And, with all best intentions, sometimes we don't do a great job of giving them that context.
Mika, marketing here has started a Lunch and Learn series. Can you talk a little bit about that partnership and how that's going?
So I talked earlier that some of us know what digital marketing is and how it works. Some of us know the depth of our products, and some of us know how we make our money, but some don't. And so we've created a series rather than, we understand we need to establish a whole set of curriculum and a marketing enablement function, et cetera, but that takes time. We have a ton of this content that we use to train our engineers, to train our sellers. And lots of people are interested in sharing what they know. And so we've essentially put together a Lunch and Learn series that is for marketing, but other people can come and we record it, and then we're putting it on our LMS system to be able to highlight it for anybody at the company. And essentially drive, lunch and learn. We provide lunch, which helps. We're going to experiment with different times of the day. We'll have snacks, but essentially have a series of topics that we will advertise on, business acumen, digital acumen, random topics like mentoring, career development and career progression, and technical acumen. Every week you can go, but it's not mandatory. Like, you just don't have to go if you don't want to go. But if you do, that's great. If you want to watch it after on video, you can do that. And so it's just getting it out there and trying to, raise the bar in terms of what we know in a scrappy way while we establish more formal curriculum to get people through what we need to know about our company. So it's
Yeah.
great. It's fun. It's actually good because you get to meet other people within the company as well. So there's an ancillary benefit there too.
Yeah, they're bringing in speakers both inside marketing and outside, right?
Yeah, mostly outside.
Mostly outside.
Yeah.
How
Mostly
have
outside.
I have a random question. So you talked a little bit about this, it's okay to say I don't know culture. I've often found that sometimes people need to take a very basic training, but they're worried to take a very basic training because they're like, that should be part of my job. It's almost like when you work with someone for 6 months and you can't remember their
Yes.
name. You don't want to ask them their name.
That's my problem.
How do you deal with that?
We're trying to get people to be vocal about attending the training or saying that they took the training. So like the CEO and I recently had someone in the company, actually we had this like ask no question is stupid session. And we sat with her and we were like, can you draw this on the board and really technically explain how this works? And just highlighting that we do that. Like the CEO of the company and the CXO of the company do that with somebody, and that I just took this training. Like I try to attend as many lunch and learns as possible, or we try to mirror or demonstrate the behavior that we're trying to drive, and just say, look, if I'm going to be vulnerable as a leader, as the leader of everybody, to say, hey, I didn't know that, and this is where I took this class. Or or we use Teams, so do it in mail, do it in open office hours, do it in the training session, just to be able to highlight that we're doing it too. This isn't just like we're actually through my actions demonstrating that we're believing in this, and through all the leaders' actions we're trying to get, and it's clearly being demonstrated by our CEO. So all of us are trying to demonstrate the vulnerability of not knowing something, and that it's okay, because you're actually doing your peers a disservice for thinking you know something or having to pretend you know something. It causes a lot of stress to actually pretend you know something you don't. It's really stressful. And someone's name as an example, that's super stressful. I'm going to run into that. Like, hey man, how's it going? So just making it okay. So just making it culturally okay at all levels and in all areas, in different forums, and just walking the talk as well.
I feel like providing stuff in an offline forum as well helps. Recording the session or having a video that someone can go home and watch.
Totally.
They don't have to admit that they don't know about JavaScript or whatever,
Right.
and they can sit there and do that.
So I think, just to touch on that, one thing of Skillsoft services, specifically on the tech dev side, we support certifications. And a big thing that comes up in certifications is I don't want to tell my leader or manager that I'm struggling, that I'm having a hard time going through this track. So we do have a mentoring service that they can go to that's not through a leader. And obviously first path would be cultural change to make it acceptable. But in those cases where people are just really concerned, there's a level of fear mongering, there are ways that technologies do offer.
There's this quote, and I've struggled for a long time to find the actual attribution, and it's been attributed to like many people over the years. And it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think something that has really resonated with our engineering teams that we work with is, yes, if you want to just be focused and single-minded and not worry about people's objections or dealing with hard conversations or have people criticizing your work or asking, feeling like people are blocking you, you can put your head down and you can get on with it. And in 3 months' time, you'll have done a lot. Or you can lift your head out of that conversation and you can actually go and solicit feedback from people. And out of 20 people, maybe one person in the room will have an answer to why your project is going to be successful or unsuccessful. And if you go together and you do that and you have those conversations and you solicit feedback, then you end up taking the project far further and it being much more successful. And rather than quickly getting 100 things done that only last a short period of time, you get 10 things done that last a much longer period of time. And I think that kind of conversation around like being a team and helping support each other has really resonated with the engineering teams that I have. You talk about it in terms of the success of the project and the success of the whole team.